Tasha Sewing Tutorials. We will be making this sewn tutu. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure around the widest part of your body. Turn around sideways, Beauty, so they can see. Beauty is our model for the day. We're going to measure around the widest part of the hips. Raise your arm up, please. Our measurement is 24. I'm probably going to add 1 inch to that for ease. So we're going to go with 25, and the reason why you go with the widest part of the hips is because we're going to be putting elastic in it, so you're going to have to pull it up over your butt. So we measure to make the waist for the widest part of the hip, and then we come back and we measure the actual waistband, which is what? Let me see. The actual waist, which is 20. So our elastic is going to be 20, and the measurement we're working with for the hip is 24 plus 1 inch for ease and plus 1 inch for a seam allowance, because we're using half inch seam allowances, so that number will be 26. The next number we're going to need is to start at the waist and measure down to where you want it to end. Normally I would do a tutu for Beauty around 8 inches, but for the sake of the video, to make the math easier, we're going to use 12 inches. So those are the numbers we need. The widest part of your body, your hips, which is around here, probably around your butt. We need our waist measurement, and we need to know how long we want it to be from the waist to the knee, or wherever you want to stop it at. When you do this, to make it easier on the math, I would do it in a multiple of 3. From your waist, your length from the waist to however long you want it to be, I would do it in a multiple of 3, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when I go ahead and show the rest of the video. Okay, let's get started with the math. Okay, the way this works is we have a middle section like this. Please excuse my bad drawing. I don't draw very well. And that middle section there is for the elastic chamber, and we have a yoke, and we have the tulle, which is what that's supposed to be. Yeah, I really can't draw. And then on this side of the elastic chamber, we have another yoke and more tulle. Now this yoke is going to be made out of woven fabric, and the tulle skirt is actually made in 3 parts for the tutu. 1/3 is the fabric yoke, and the 2/3 is the tulle. So the way we're going to figure out how much fabric we need when we go to the fabric store is we're going to take the widest part of the hip, which is this section right here. It's the widest part of the hip, and that number, let me zoom in some so you guys can see what I'm doing. That number for the widest part of the hip was 24. And remember, we took 24 plus 1 inch ease plus 1 inch seam allowance, which came up to 26. So width-wise, from here to here, let me see that other ink pen. Width-wise, from here to here, we're going to need 26 inches. Okay. And then to find out how much we need for the yoke, from here to here, let's do it like this, from here to here, we're going to use 1/3 of the total measurement. The total measurement for the entire skirt that we wanted to use, put it like this. This to here was 12 inches. And 1/3 of 12 is 4. So we're going to need 4 here. And we're going to need 2 inches. We're using 3/4 inch elastic, but I want to go ahead and give the elastic a little bit more room. So we're going to need 1 inch for this side and 1 inch for that side of the yoke. I'm sorry, the elastic chamber. So that's 2 inches for that. And then from here to here, we need another 4 inches. So width-wise, we need 26. And length-wise, we need 10. That's how much fabric we need for the yoke. Lengthwise 10, widthwise 26. Now to figure out how much tulle we need. Basically, for the width of the tulle, we're going to take the number that we came up with here, which was 25, because you take out the seam allowance, so, no, 26. We need 26 times 5, because we need to make this pretty thick, and I'm doing times 5 because I know that's how much tulle I have on hand. But you can use this times 6 or times 7, however much you want to need, depending on how full you want it. So I'm going with times 5. 26 times 5 is around 100, I want to say 130. 130 inches. For the width. And for the length, the other 2/3 of the skirt is going to be 8. So we need 8 inches for this side of the tulle, plus we need another 8 inches for this side of the tulle. So we're gonna go with 8 times, let's see, I want to do 10 layers, so 8 times 10 is how much we're going to need for the length, which is about 80 inches. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put 5 layers of tulle on this side and 5 layers of tulle on that side. So in the end, we'll have 10 layers of the tulle total. I know this may look a little bit confusing, but when we get to the actual construction of the tutu, it all makes sense, okay? So what you have to remember for the formulas, for the math formulas, is the waist times 5 equals the width of the tulle. And in order to do the understand the skirt total length is divided by 3, and 1/3 equals the yoke, and 2/3 equals the length of the tulle. Okay, let's get started with the rest of the video, and let's get started with the rest of the video, and then we'll come back and actually we'll reference this throughout the entire video, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say 1/3 and 2/3. Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, I'm back, and I have some of the tulle already on the machine. And what you're gonna do, because I said I was gonna do this in 5 layers, I have one layer right here, 2, 3, 4 and 5 layers all together on the machine at the same time. And then I put my stitch on the longest stitch that I can put it on, the longest straight stitch I can put it on my machine. And I've actually sewed quite a bit of it already to save time for the video. And now all I'm going to do is just feed it into the machine like this. And I'm going to sew all 5 layers together. And it shouldn't be a problem because this tool is so thin. But really and honestly, if you are a beginner, you should probably pin all of this together. And now, basically all I do is feed it into the machine like this. Simple as that. I'm going to feed it all the way through the machine on the longest stitch. And the reason why we want to do the longest stitch is because we're going to gather it. So once again, let me get my tool together. And if I had pinned it like I'm supposed to, I wouldn't have to stop and get it together and stop and get it together, but that's what I'm doing. And basically all you do is you get all your tools straight. You see how it's all straight? And then you just feed it through the machine. It's that simple. Just make sure all of your layers underneath the tool, underneath the press-a-foot, are lined up with the edges together. That's how you're going to gather your tool. So let me go ahead. Oh, and I would like to say also, let me zoom out some so you can see this, because we talked about this today. As you can see, I'm sewing, I'm using my table extender because when I do that, the fabric is not hanging off the ledge. Actually, the end of the fabric is right here, and I still have all of this here on my extension table to support most of this fabric. So even if this wasn't tulle, this was a heavier fabric, this here would help me support the fabric and it's not causing a lot of strain on the needle. And this works especially well if you're quilting. So this is why they call the quilt extension table, sometimes they call it a quilting extension table, but really you can use it every day. It doesn't have to be for quilting. So once again, what I'm doing is I'm making sure all the layers are together, and then I'm feeding it through the machine. And I'm not pushing the fabric through the machine. I'm letting the press-a-foot do the job that it's supposed to do, which is pull the fabric through the machine. The only thing you're supposed to do is guide it. Let the machine do the work. That's why you don't see my hands on the fabric, because I'm guiding the fabric down here on the end and I'm allowing the press-a-foot to do its job. So there you have it. Well, next time you see me, all of this tulle will have been sewn and we're going to be on the step of gathering it onto the yoke. So I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've already done this blue side of the tutu. I'm doing the white side now. And you're going to take one end here, and you're going to pin it to one end of the yoke. Like this, and then you're going to take the other end. Make sure it's not twisted up, because this is a lot of tulle to work with. And then you pin the other end to the other end of the yoke. Let me get that string out of the way. That's from the blue. And you pin it on this end right here. And I sewed all 5 layers together with the longest stitch that I had on my sewing machine. Now you can actually do this part, sewing the tulle together, with a hand needle, and it's probably going to be easier for you to control it if you did it that way. but I did it on a sewing machine. So I pinned this here, and I have all of this in the middle, and I pinned, and I made sure it wasn't twisted, and I pinned this side here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these strings on the end, and I'm going to pull it so I can gather all of this tulle up to fit the yoke. And then so I'm just going to pull it and gather, pull it and gather, all the way until I get all of this down to fit the yoke of the skirt. And we're almost done. So sewing a tutu is actually a little bit faster than doing the no-sew tutu, if you ask me, because you get all the layers together in one layer, sew them all together in one layer, and then all you have to do is gather it up to match the yoke, and then you sew it together, and then you sew the channel for the elastic, and you're done. So that's simple. You could probably, if you have all the fabric, if you buy the fabric on the boat, if you're making this for a young kid, maybe a baby, something like that, you could actually buy the tulle on the roll, and you wouldn't even have to cut it. You would just have to cut it down to meet the lengthwise that you need. And you want to do 5 or 6 times the width of the widest part of the body for the width. I'm sorry, you want to do 5 or 6 times for the body, yeah, for the length, not the width. I keep saying them backwards on this video for some reason. You want to do 5 or 6 times the size of the hips for the width of the fabric, and you want, I'm sorry, for the width of the, yeah, for the width of the fabric, and then you want to do 2/3 of the length for the amount of tulle that you need, and you want to do 1/3 of the length for the ×2. Oh, my pen came out. ×2 for the width of the yoke. So that's basically it. It's really easy. It'll take you a lot faster to make the tutu than it was for me to make this video, actually. It just took a long time because we had to do the math. And once you know the math, everything else is easy. So I'm going to put this pin back in here, and I'm going to continue to gather this up until it meets the size of the yoke. And you want these gathers to be in here evenly when you put them in here. Like, for instance, I did the blue side already. Let me show you. You see how it's evenly gathered? There's not a bunch bunched up over here and a bunch bunched over there. I made sure it was evenly gathered, and then I pinned it down. The next thing I'm going to do is just sew across the top, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, and then we're going to fold it in half like this. Sew a channel for the elastic, put the elastic in, and you bring it around. Sew it in a circle, and then you'll have your skirt. So let me go ahead and finish what I'm doing with this here gathering of this white, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've already gathered this white to meet the size of the yoke, and I actually already sewed it down. So you're going to sew it onto the right side of the yoke like this, and now I'm going to do the blue side. So all you have to do is you pin it all the way down after you get it gathered to size. You're going to readjust your stitch length on your sewing machine back to the normal length, because remember we put it to the longest length. Now we're going to put it back in the middle range, maybe around 2.5 or 3. And just going to sew across here. And then that will be the next to last step. And last step will be to sew the channel for the elastic into the yoke. And as you can see, it would look something like this. You'll have, this is the tutu and this is the yoke. And we'll sew it together into a circle. And you see how full that tutu is? And you have it two-tone, so this side is white and the other side is blue. You could actually turn it the other way, the wrong side out, and you'll have it reversible. So let me go ahead and finish this part and then sew the blue onto this, and then I'll show you what to do next. We'll be back. Okay, I'm back and I have the blue sewed on. I'm actually taking out these gathering stitches right now. I have the blue sewn on to the yoke, and I have the white sewn on to the yoke as well. And you can take out the gathering stitches now if you would like, or you can leave them in if they're not visible. But if they are visible, go ahead and take them out. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half, the yoke in half, and we're going to sew in the channel for the elastic. So we're going to fold it in half like this. And I actually had the middle of the yoke, I have it ironed, so there is a fold iron in there, so I know exactly where it is. And I did that before I put the tool on. So now all I'm going to do is mark 1 inch right here, all the way down with my my quilting marker, which is water soluble, and it's actually the one I'm going to use is air soluble. So after a few hours the line is going to disappear, and that is the line that I'm going to sew on top of to make the channel for the elastic. And then we put the elastic in, we sew it together like this, and we have a tutu. And the tutu, if you want to do it 2 colors, 1 color on this side and 1 color on that side, you would have a, hold on, let me get it together. You would have a reversible tutu. So it's white on this side, and it's blue on that side. So let me go ahead and sew that channel in. I'm going to use this new thing that I found. I am not getting any kind of endorsements for advertising this. I just think it's pretty neat. I actually never used it. This will be my first time using it. Found these things called elastic threaders. That's what that is. Let me zoom in so you can see what it looks like. Okay. I found these things at the store called elastic threaders. They're by Dritz, and they're in different sizes. You have the 1/4 inch, the 1/2 inch, and the 1 inch. And let me see if I told you that correctly. Yes, that's what they are. This is the 1/4 inch, this is the 1/2 inch, and this is the 3/4 inch. And I have 3/4 of an inch fat elastic that I'm going to use. And the way you do it is you thread the elastic in this way, if I can get it in there. One moment. If I read it correctly, let me see. Let me read those instructions correctly. Oh, you put it through the front. Okay, see, I was doing it wrong. You put it through this way, and let me get it on camera. You put it through this way, and then you push it through like this on the other side, and then you thread your elastic through to the fabric, through the channel that you created for your fabric. Let me see if I can get this other end in there. One moment. Okay, you get it threaded through there like this. You see that? This is the back, this is the front. I threaded this end through there. And then you push this through the channel to thread the elastic in. Isn't that neat? So we don't have to actually use safety pins. You can use this thing right here. So I'll be back. I'm going to sew the channel into the yoke, and then we'll thread in the elastic, and then we'll be almost done. One moment. Okay, actually, I skipped a step. I didn't tell you guys about a step. After you mark the line where you're going to sew it at, and I know you can't see my line because it's really light, it's right here for the 1 inch. What you're supposed to do next is actually take it like this and sew it into a tube first. So that way your seam for sewing it together will be enclosed in the inside of the skirt. So it's just like kind of making a muff, you know, one of those winter muffs that you have to go with your coat. You sew it together here first, and then after you sew it here first, you turn it in half like this, and then you sew on the line that you created with with your marking utensil. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew it together in the tube first, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then I'll sew it the elastic part down. Okay, now I sewed it into a tube. As you can see, there is a tube right there. Now all we have to do is flip it over. Remember, we have the middle of the yoke ironed, so it was easily, all you have to do is find that ironed part, that crease that you ironed in for the waistband of the yoke. I have it marked right here. I know you could probably barely see that with my air soluble pin, and I'm going to sew on top of that to make the channel for the elastic. We're going to and when you do that, it's also going to sew the yoke down. Now you can come around and sew this down right here too, if you would like, around the edge to sew the two layers together, but you really don't have to, but you can if you want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew in that channel for the elastic. Remember, we're gonna leave right here, right where the seam is, to leave an opening to feed the elastic in, then you can come back and sew that opening closed. So let me do that, and then we'll see if we can get Beauty to model it for us. We won't be modeling it outside today. If we get her to model it today, it won't be outside, it'll be in the house because the sun has already gone down. So if you see her outside, that means that we had to continue this video to the next day. So I'm going to slide this on the arm of my sewing machine. I took the extension table off. I can barely see where I marked that. It's a good thing my sewing machine has a 1 inch demarcation. So what I'm going to do is line up this crease with the 1 inch demarcation, and then I'm going to sew because I can barely see that marking that I did because I took too long to sew on top of it, and the air is already dissolving the ink. So when you use the air soluble pen, take it from me, it's best to come back and work on this as soon as you mark it, or you'll have your ink disappearing like mine is doing. Okay, I'll see you guys after I sew this channel in for the elastic, and then we'll thread in the elastic using that new threader that I found, and see how it works, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, I'm back, and I have sewn all the way around to make a chamber for the elastic, and I'm going to go through here and find the chamber, put my little threader in there, and we're going to test it out and see how well it works. And actually, I like this. It's a lot easier than pulling a safety pin through there. I can tell you that much, because I'm almost done. So you pull it all the way around, and you get to the other side, and you bring it back out. It's as simple as that. Apparently I didn't make the hole big enough. Oh, there it goes. You pull it all the way out. And now all I have to do is take this out of here and sew this together like that, and adjust the elastic, and then I can sew this down. I don't have to, but I am, because that's just how I like to do. I don't like any raw edges on my garments on the outside. So when I do sew that down, that's going to enclose all the raw edges. So I'm going to sew this elastic down, and then I'm going to adjust the elastic. I'm going to sew this layer and this layer together right here on this, on the edge where you were top stitch it. So I'm going to top stitch it and sew it together at the same time. So let me go ahead and finish that. And then the next time you see this tutu, Beauty will be wearing it. Alrighty, we'll see you guys later. Okay, here's Beauty and the tutu we just made. Can you turn around, Beauty, to the back and to the front? So you can see how it has the white on the bottom and the blue on the top. I'm gonna zoom in for a little bit. You can see it a little bit better now. And there you have it. And as usual, say it with me, Beauty. Happy sewing. Bye.